Today's show is sponsored by the multiorgasmicmama.com. If lack of confidence, low libido, or guilt and shame around your sexuality are the cause of your bedroom woes, the hot wild sex you never have anymore, or the transition into motherhood that sucked your libido dry, let me help you get your mojo and magnetic feminine spark back. Magic, miracles, total self-love, and multi-orgasmic bliss included. See you at themultiorgasmicmama.com. Hello, hot mamas. Today we are talking about your inner child and how it affects your sex life, your love life, and your relationships. Such a not sexy topic, I know. But if you want to have great sexy feelings in your body and to feel sexy and have amazing sex, well, my dear, you have got to do some inner child work because your inner child is literally the predominant unconscious part of you that is affecting your sex life, your love life, and your relationships. And it's probably the predominant pattern of why it sucks if it does. It might not suck for you, and that's awesome. But what I have found working with my clients is that the inner child is extremely problematic in relationship and sexuality and in finding love and dating and all that. Now, if you've ever heard of the work by Harville Hendrix, he is one of the most popular, or shall we say best relationship therapists in the world. He wrote a really amazing book called Getting the Love That You Want. And part of the groundbreaking idea of the book is that he points out that relationships, we tend to attract partners that on an unconscious level we know will help us to heal our childhood wounds. Isn't that so unsexy? We think it's all about chemistry and we think it's all about, choosing a mate that's going to create, biologically amazing babies and stuff. But actually, that's the biological level, and then there's a psychological level of why we choose the partners that we do, and it's because deep down we know that our partner is going to trigger the shit out of us and our inner child, and that person is going to make us either face our wounding and force us to evolve and to heal those wounds, or we don't make it out and we say we can't do this and we end up getting divorced, which is a lot of people. All right. How then do you create healing for your inner child? How can you even discover where in your sex life, your love life, your relationship that your inner child is showing up? Well, this is the question of the day, right? The inner child is an unconscious part of the body mind, because it has created patterns and conditioned beliefs that get lodged in the primal or reptilian brain and the limbic system. That is why approaching it through a body-mind perspective, feeling for the sensations inside of you that often come up, is the way to discover where and how the inner child is showing up in these areas and the problematic parts that are causing and wreaking havoc on your sex life, your love life, your relationship. And the way that you can identify these pieces is just by feeling and recognizing in your body, like, what emotions come up when you think about your sex life, your love life, or your relationship. Emotions are governed by your limbic system, your limbic brain. So maybe you experience a lot of loneliness or sadness or dissatisfaction or guilt or shame. These emotions often come from some experience in childhood, usually prior to 8 years old, where you were not validated in your sexual experiences, your pleasure, your worthiness to receive pleasure. Maybe you experienced a sexual trauma or an abuse. Any of those things. This is deep, deep, deep inner work, and it gets lodged into these deep unconscious parts of the brain. So you approach it by really feeling for an emotion or a sensation. And if you're really shut down, and maybe you've experienced trauma before, one of the best ways to let that part of you, that inner child part of you bubble up is through breath work. And that's why I teach all of my clients breath work, because it's a really wonderful way to connect to the felt sense, to the deep body mind and the sensations and emotions in your body. If you've experienced a lot of trauma before, that is a reason that we create like this hardness, this numbness inside, because we don't want to feel that. We don't want to go back to that. Like, duh, of course, that's not fun. It's not pleasurable. So we create this numbness, this hard shell. And one of the best ways to break through that numbness and that hard shell is with your breath. And that is why transformational breath work is something that I adore. It's a practice that helps connect you back to your body and the sensations in your body so you can move forward with your life and you don't have to have these patterns, deep conditioned belief systems holding you back from having the sex life you want. Okay, now becoming aware of the sensations and the emotions inside that the inner child has around sex, love, and relationships. Awareness is the first step. Okay, you have to become aware of how and when your inner child is showing up in your life. What did your inner child think it would get by acting the way it did? What does your inner child feel that it needs in order to not show up or get triggered? The triggers that we have from our partner is usually because there's an inner child piece that's screaming, hey, I need attention. I need you to look at me. I need you to hold me. I need you to give me love and affection because I didn't get it in my childhood. And that is why we get triggered, because there's some part of us that got held back in childhood that was like, I'm not getting my needs met. So it acts out in our adult relationships. Now, becoming aware of the emotions and the sensations of your body, again, that's the first step. The second step is to become the caretaker of your inner child. Stop caretaking everyone else and start taking care of your inner child. I need to make a meme out of that, right? This is a huge one. We often want to take care of everyone else's needs, especially if you're a mama and you've got little ones hanging around. Of course, we have to take care of our own children's needs, but you cannot forget that somewhere inside of you, there is an inner child that needs love, attention, and affection as well, just as much as your own children need those things. You have to become the caretaker of your own inner child's needs. How can you meet her needs? How can you be that loving 5-star parent that you are being for your own child and be that for yourself? That is what self-love is. That is being able to love your inner child when she does get triggered, when she does show up in your sexuality and your relationship and your love and dating experiences. Questions to ask yourself. Who inside of you can love your inner child? Who in you can offer the compassion that your inner child needs? Who in you is able to give your inner child attention? Who in you has the energy to protect your inner child? Who in you knows how to keep her safe? The empowering of an inner caretaker is super valuable because that helps you to not give your inner child too much power, but instead to empower a more mature, a conscious part of yourself, which can lead to not being triggered so much. It can lead to developing the freaking sex goddess inside of you that wants sexual control, that doesn't want your inner child who got shamed or punished for touching herself when she was 6 years old to show up anymore. Because your inner child doesn't want that responsibility, first of all, but also she is not suited to show up in your sexuality and your adult sexual relations. We also want to empower another part that can help you move towards intimacy. If you experienced your emotions not being validated, or maybe just no one paid attention or asked you about how you really were deep down inside as a child, then that's one of the reasons that we have emotional and vulnerability blocks in our adult life. Because this inner child got taught that it wasn't safe, or that there was no place to open up and be vulnerable and intimate with someone. So it just learned to shut that down. And then we wonder in adulthood why we're so disconnected from our partners, why we can't be vulnerable and open up. It's because our inner child's emotional needs probably did not get met at all. And we also want to empower a caretaker inside so that this inner child doesn't show up and get triggered and conflict all of the time in your relationship. If you are one of those couples that experience the same fight and argument over and over again, I absolutely guarantee you that that is your inner child getting triggered, and that needs healing, and that it's screaming for attention, for love. And you know what happens when you do give it all of the attention and the love? It stops getting triggered. I want to tell you a little bit about my own personal journey around inner child work and my love life. Do you want to hear about that? I think you probably do. I'm going to tell you anyway. I have done relationship trauma resolution extensively over the last couple of months. And what I found was an inner 12-year-old. My inner 12-year-old, she had some deep-seated beliefs that she needed attention from men in order to be worthy. What happened was when I was 12, I had a crush on, my first crush, right? On this guy named Ryan. He was 12 as well, and he went to the same church that I did growing up. And I had a best friend who also liked him. But the problem was that he liked her and he did not give a shit about me. Or if he did, he didn't say so, and he was terribly mean to me. And what ended up happening is that they became boyfriend and girlfriend, and I was rejected. And ever since then, I adopted the belief that I needed men to like me in order to feel worthy. So that the more men that liked me, sought after me, wanted me, then that meant the more worthy and amazing I was. My own personal worthiness became dependent on outside forces. It became dependent on how others viewed me, and it wasn't from a place of inner self-worth. It became dependent on how many men wanted me. And in my love life currently, it's showed up in many different ways: being ghosted, rejected, and stood up many, 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 many times by many different men. And yes, I have my fun, but there are more times than not that has been the predominant thing in my dating and love life. And what that was happening because there was this inner 12-year-old inside of me that was saying, hey, I need you to pay attention to me. I need love. I need you to change this story, Lacey, for once and for all, that our worth isn't dependent on how many men want us anymore, that we have an inner sense of worth just for being fucking alive. That I am worthy because I am alive, not because men want me. And now I look back on these experiences and I see how that totally made sense, that my love life was playing out the way it was because there was a part of me, a part of my deep unconscious psyche that needed healing and integration so badly. And the way that I was able to heal that was by meeting her needs. I would literally spend an hour a day for a couple of days a week writing about how my inner 12-year-old showed up during that day. And I'd do it a couple of times a week, these writing exercises where I'm like, okay, so my inner child got triggered by this. She showed up this way and she needed this. She thought she was going to get this. And did she actually get what she needed or not? And then once I started to notice how she was showing up every day, I got so freaking sick of it. I was like, this is insanity. No wonder my love life is not how I want it to be. No wonder I'm getting rejected by the people that I really do like. And then the people that I don't really like were the ones that were actually interested. And Once I finally got super aware and tired of how she was showing up, then I was like, okay, now how can I find an empowering identity to really take control of my love life so I can show up in my love life and create experiences that were truly nourishing and beautiful to have, and that didn't make me feel like shit anymore because the people that I really wanted to be with didn't want to be with me. And once I found that empowering identity, then I was able to start showing up to men in a completely different way. And I no longer felt that them rejecting me had anything to do with me. It was like, oh, the rejection meant nothing anymore. It's like, okay, sure, he doesn't want to see me today. Got it. Moving on. It wasn't like this huge trigger anymore. I stopped being triggered because I was showing up from an empowered queen, a queen of love instead of a wounded inner child. And I created this really amazing safe space for her inside of myself, this inner 12-year-old. So instead of showing up in my love life and getting triggered all the freaking time, she was able to go in this unbreakable core inside of my body and play. And actually, it's like a rainbow core inside of my spine. And it's like this, if you've ever seen the Lego movie, the double-decker couches. This is very personal, but it's like this inner bedroom, right? This rainbow bedroom with lots of like amazing bright lights and glitter, and this double-decker couch with all her friends in there, like just totally having an awesome time as a 12-year-old with sleepovers and staying up and listening to NSYNC and Justin Timberlake. And this is what she wants to do instead of showing up and being freaking triggered all the time in my current love life. Once I created that safe inner environment for her and empowered my inner queen of love, oh my God, did men start showing up in a totally different way. And I stopped being triggered. That is why step number 3 in healing your inner childhood wounds that are affecting your sex, love, and relationship life is to create an inner environment that feels safe for your inner child, where she can return to her original essence that she had in childhood. So she can be bright, energetic, happy again, instead of getting triggered in our adult situations or upset and losing control and lashing out and creating insane behavior as an adult woman and being defensive all of the time. Key questions to ask yourself to create a safe environment for this inner child is, what does she need to focus on? Does she need to focus on playfulness? Does she need to have more fun? Does she need to experience more pleasure? Does she just need reassurance that she's worthy? Does she need to be told something? What does she need to learn from you? How can you reparent her and tell her the truth about what really happened? Does she need to be spoken to with a lot of sensitivity? Does she just need someone to hold space for her so she can experience the emotions that she wasn't allowed to feel? Does she have gifts that need to be recognized and supported? Does she have a special need to feel safe? It's just really about honoring the original qualities of your inner child and creating a safe space inside of your body where that inner child can live and play. And then you can return to an empowered identity and showing up in your sex life, your love life, your relationship from an inner freaking queen, or whatever that empowering identity is for you. So a way that you can create these inner safe environments for your inner child is just to visualize what it looks like. Like I told you, it's like a rainbow core in my spine, and it's just like this amazing glittery place where she just gets to play and have sleepovers and be with her friends, and she can just be her bright, energetic self and not show up and get triggered all the time in her current love life. And then the 4th step is the empowerment of a new identity. All right. So where is the inner child blocking your desire for sexuality? Where is it taking on protection that isn't truly serving you? Who inside of you has the ability to do this instead? The key questions I want you to ask yourself are, who do you want to empower instead? Is it an inner queen? Is it an inner sex goddess? Who inside of you believes that it's possible to have what you want? What part of you has showed up to subscribe and listen to this podcast because there obviously has to be some part of you that believes that having what you want in sexuality, love, and relationships is possible. Otherwise, you absolutely would not be listening to this podcast right now. That is the part of you that you need to empower instead of this wounded inner child. Who can you empower? The new empowered identity can build a relationship with the inner child and communicate with it like a good parent and express boundaries and speak with authority without negativity and punishment to the inner child. Oh my God, like what a revolutionary, groundbreaking way to approach your triggers in a relationship, to approach your shutdown in sexuality, is to approach it from inner empowerment, from like, oh, this is me showing up from a wounded part of myself, and now I get to be my own best parent. I get to be the one to set the boundaries, to express to my inner child what it needs in order to thrive. What does she need to thrive? What does your inner child need to thrive? Give that to her. Be that 5-star parent for her, and she will stop showing up. She will stop limiting you from having the sex life and the relationship and the love life that you deeply desire. I absolutely promise. All right, my dears, this is such a big topic. And I absolutely love, I'm a freaking junkie with psychology, like inner child psychology. It is such transformative, amazing work. And if you would like further support in this, this is absolutely one of the biggest pieces we work on when I work with a one-on-one client. Sometimes inner child work can last 2-3 months in our work together. It just depends on what's going on in the deep psyche and how much it's actually showing up in the present. If that's something you really want to work through, I'd love to support you with that. All you need to do is head to themultiorgasmicmama.com and you can go to the coaching tab, fill out a coaching application, and I will be in touch with suggested times to talk with you about this and to see what we can do to move forward to helping you create this new empowering identity so you can have truly, once and for all, the sex life, the love life, the relationship life that you deeply desire. All right, my dear, thank you so much for listening, and talk to you next week. Bye-bye.